Nowadays, even if I laugh during that interview, I don't think I would care that much because it's authentic and genuine. Like the way he speaks, how can you not laugh? How can you not laugh? That's what I try
It's
to explain to people, and
very peculiar.
most people understand. I mean, it was very difficult at that time. You're in front of the camera. This is one of your first interviews, and you already know the controversial nature of Norman Lowell,
Yeah.
and you'd be thinking, oh, I hope I don't fuck up in some way and burst out laughing. It was very difficult.
Or offend him and he ends up
Exactly.
beating you with his walking
Exactly.
stick or something.
It was very, very difficult to try and keep that balance. I think
Mhm.
I did it, but if I could
Fam,
go back in time, I would
it-
also not
it
mind
was
laughing.
it was one of the longest ones. Lawrence, the one with
They're usually, it depends on, because some candidates, we did Roberta Metsola.
yes, which was 10
She only
minutes.
10 minutes, and you'd find someone like Simon Buzotil. He gave us almost an hour and
a half.
20 minutes.
Yep.
Exactly. But usually they're around 45 minutes to 1 hour. It depends on the guest and
Look, it's long enough that you can
exactly.
can
Depends on
really-
how long they take to answer the questions. As because some
FM.
politicians they like
as
to
they like to prolong their answer.
exactly.
Even Norman Lowell was going like into his space before he
He,
gets
he takes really long pauses.
yes.
At one point, I had to edit out a part. He took a pause of like 20 seconds, and I was just
Daħwina.
staring at him like, hey, alaha, tipo, like, I try not to edit out much parts because you try to
Mhm.
keep everything authentic, but
yes,
sometimes
yes,
it's like,
yes. I
have
do
to-
the same. I do the same. Any skit like we have last time in the last episode, someone walked in
mm,
and I just left it in. because
exactly. It's part of the nature.
It
so.
adds a little bit more to the sense that it's not. We're not professionals. Like we're not
Exactly.
gonna make money
That's
out
how
of
it should
this.
be, I think.
Yes,
You
yes.
should be-
It's a bit more of a genuine form of content. So let's move on a bit. So we're talking about the characters you interviewed.
Mm.
And you have interviewed some very strong characters,
Mm.
mainly being Joseph Muscat
Uh.
and Norman Lowell.
Uh,
How did you handle? You explained how you were handling Norman, but I'd like to know a bit more of how you feel when you're interviewing these larger, slightly more controversial characters in the political scene. What goes through your head when you're thinking? I'm sure you're probably a bit more careful with what comes out.
I mean, I'll get into Joseph Muscat in a minute, but let me start with Norman Lowell because he was the first
Yes,
one
the
of this
first one.
nature.
Mhm.
When preparing for that type of interview, I try not to overthink because when you overthink, you get flustered.
Yeah.
And I think that, Norman Lowell, what do people associate him with? Migration.
Yes.
How can Norman Lowell tackle the migration problem? It's one of my major critics of him because he focuses on irregular migration when in reality Malta doesn't really have a large problem of irregular migration.
No.
The problem is legal migration,
Mhm.
and I try to see how he would tackle that, but interestingly in the interview he didn't really
No.
tackle that at all.
No.
But Norman Lowell he has a certain aura. Let me use that word. Aura. and when I saw him for the first time over there, we were filming in Mjar. He's from Mjar, and I never saw him before, and you see him there with his walking stick, and Lowell, like this guy is he's not playing a character. He's really that person in real life. And when it was one of the first ones, like I just said, when I actually sat down with him and we started recording, you still feel that sense of surrealness. Like, tipo, I can swear on this. Or
Yes, you can. You can.
tipo, what the fuck am I doing? next to Norman Lowell.
Yes.
But you take that experience and you for the next interviews, you're like, I can't ever like feel like it's surreal. You have to put yourself at the same level as
Mhm.
the person getting interviewed. But I think Norman Lowell is just a character which
It's
in the boring Maltese landscape where everyone is saying the same things,
Yes.
disagree as much as I disagree with him. I think that we really should try to not appreciate is the wrong word, but he's such a charismatic
Yes,
person.
yes,
He really
yes.
entices you in what he's
Mhm.
saying, and I think that in Maltese political history we never had, and I don't think we will ever have someone with that type of aura and
Of aura,
character.
yes, yes.
Exactly, because he's one of a kind. If he was hypothetically a part of one of the major political parties and he says the
I'm
things he
sure-
says, he would
yes.
be one of the most
Yes,
successful politicians there
Yes,
is.
yes.
Because one of the things people say, what you can't say about Norman Lowell is that he's not honest. He is honest.
Yes.
I think he's wrong, but he's honest, and honesty is one of the things that both political parties are really, really lacking of
Yeah. Big
nowadays.
time. Well, well, you can compare him to the way Hitler gathered all his
Exactly,
followers.
exactly. It's populism.
That's how-
It's
that's how-
right-wing populism. That's what it is.
And I was seeing the number of votes. He got quite a
He got
large number.
he
of
got
votes.
6,700. Last time he did better, yeah.
Last time he did better. I
But
thought he did worse last
I
time.
think because everyone expected that he was gonna do better this time. I was one of those. I was like, how
Mhm.
can he not do better? Since the last election was 2019,
Yes.
and now it's 2024. You've seen the surge in legal migration, but I attribute the fact to his shortcomings in this election to the fact that there were so many independent candidates which
Who
did
were
well.
doing very well.
You had
Casola
Cassola who got 12,000, 13,000 votes.
came third or fourth in the vote.
He came third with
Third.
first
Exactly.
preference. And you had Conrad Borchmanche, who was
Mhm.
one of the main catalysts which actually addressed these migration problems. And I think Manche took a lot of votes from Norman Lowell.
Mm.
Because Norman Lowell is too radical for some people.
Mm.
And when you have, outright racist remarks and you have someone like Conrad.
Some homophobic remarks. as
Exactly,
well, yes, yes.
everything anti-Semitic, you name it. But and then you have someone like Conrad who's more he addresses the problem, but he's not going to say this type of stuff because he
Mhm.
doesn't believe it like Norman does.
Mhm.
Norman is really, really fascinating. He has 2 books. I never read them. They're really large books. It's a manifesto of what he actually believes in. This guy, he believes that
Oh my God.
he calls it Nova Europa. He says that
Yes, yes.
Europe should be run by the white Europeans, and that all this type of stuff. So he's quite a particular. He's intelligent. You can't. No one can say he's not intelligent,
of
but
course.
I think he's
However,
a bit morally
he has
bankrupt.
fascist ideas.
Exactly. Exactly. That's it.
That would be very interesting to read.
I never bothered. I think
Wow.
it would. I think
Mhm.
he's an artist as well, But moving, I wanted to speak a bit about Joseph Muscat and try to contrast those different experiences. When I interviewed Norman, like I said, was one of the first ones.
Yes,
Joseph
yes.
was like a month away from the election, beginning of May.
Yes.
The interview with Joseph Muscat was planned right after I launched the page. He told us, listen, in May we can do this interview. So I was 2 months, waiting for this interview, waiting,
Mhm.
not aware to anyone. I didn't tell anyone I'm going to interview him because obviously you need to go in with a bang,
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
تريد تحصل الناس.
Element of surprise.
Exactly, yeah. And not Norman, Joseph, I didn't speak to him directly. I had someone who knew him speak to him for me. He gave us a date, I believe it was 5th, 6th May. And the lead up, I was preparing the questions, and I usually do 10 to 15 questions.
Yes.
I believe I wrote about 12 or 13 for him. And I was like, man, these are the best questions anyone ever asked him. not to put myself on a pedestal, but they're so different. And then, 2 days before the interview, the Vitals case came out,
Yes,
the
yes.
whole... And I was like, fuck, man, I have to change everything now.
Yeah.
And I had to rearrange half my questions to accommodate that because, you can't really interview him in the
And-
midst of a crisis and
Mhm,
not speak about the hospital's case. So
obviously.
that was a bit of a shame because I think I had more interesting questions relating to
Mhm.
the country at the moment, but and then we actually got he has an office. It's a really, really nice office. Samaizon it's called. And when we walked into this office, it's like a mansion, everything's really nice. There was one of his security, I think, or personal advisors he told us intom għall-intervista, we told him yes, okay, you sit over here, set up and everything. It was the first time I got my friend James to set up the camera and so we could have more of a professional interview.
Yes.
And we were setting up for 30 minutes. And then we told the guy, we told him, okay, we're ready. Whenever he wants, we can start. And when you see, I never saw him before. I saw him when I was young because he came to do a speech at my school at the time. And we saw him coming out of the office, and it's like, again, you know, that feeling of surrealness, tipo,
Joseph
oh,
and
the fuck
Victus
am I?
Muscat.
During the midst of, exactly, and during the midst of that scandal, it
Yes.
was absolutely surreal.
Mhm.
And you know, he was nice with everyone. You know, he spoke to everyone. Where do you go to school? What do you do?
Mhm.
Everything. And then we sat down. We told him, "Can we start?" and everything. And one of the things that I remember profoundly from this interview is he has a stare, a sort of like his eyes. When you ask him something, they're like they
Yes,
like.
yes.
It's like he's staring into your soul, you know.
Mhm.
And it's really, really, really.
It's true.
It tries to 'cause
Intimidate.
intimidate
It's
you.
intimidating, very
It
intimidating.
is for the first two questions. Even in the interview, you could notice
Yes,
that
yeah.
I was a bit not shaky because
But you're
I
nervous.
have- I got a bit nervous at that
Ovvja,
point.
ovvja.
But then you know you're like, okay, this guy's just doing it to intimidate me. You know, and after that interview, I was like, okay, the Joseph Muscat, anyone else can come, even if even if Putin wants to come, no, I can interview
Who?
him. Putin.
Lallu, mux
If he wants to come,
Eżatt,
tipo I did
eżatt.
Joseph. Imma he's fis-sens he was really nice with us. Tipo he came like 5 minutes before the interview. We just exchanged a few words.
Yeah.
We did the interview. I think it was 45 minutes.
Mhm.
After the interview, okay, you know, my friend got the flag of the Partit Laburista. Sign it for my mother, please. A few pictures and then, you know,
Yeah, no,
tell
funny.
Fimt, I just spoke to him mainly during the interview. That was, I think, is one of the craziest
Wow.
experiences of my life. Because like,
Wow.
so even when I go on my YouTube channel and I look at the most popular videos, I think Norman Lowell is at 19,000 views.
Yes.
Joseph is 13,000,
Yes,
14,000. And you know, I go on that video, I can't even look at it because I'm like, lallu. Tipo, the excitement that I get when I'm like, lallu, at impoġġi ħdej Joseph Muscat at nintervistaħ. No, it's like surreal.